And joining us now to help us understand and break this all down is ABC News legal contributor Chana Lloyd, family law attorney David Glass, as well as ABC News contributor Chris Connolly, and New York Times senior story editor and co-creator of that Framing Britney film documentary that was just so good. Liz Day is with us as well. Welcome all. And David, I want to begin with you, because a lot of people haven't heard what a conservatorship is. That's a legal term. And who is normally placed under one? So how would you explain that?
A conservatorship is a legal proceeding where someone comes to the court, a family member or friend, and says, my father or mother or aunt or uncle is incapacitated. They have a problem with their thinking, they have a problem with their memory, or perhaps they have a problem with their emotional functioning, and they simply can't care for themselves or care for their money, their estate. So they come to the court asking to be appointed to handle all those decisions for the incapacitated person.
And how unusual is it for someone Britney's age and apparent capacities to be under a conservatorship like this?
It's extremely unusual. Conservatorships, by and large, are for elderly people suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's disease or an advanced psychological disorder. To see a young person conserved is relatively rare, and then to see a young person conserved for 13 years is extremely rare. When you do see a young person enter into a conservatorship, typically they go for treatment, they get prescribed medication, their emotions and their logic balances out, and they're able to come out of the conservatorship relatively quickly. And that's just not the case in this story.
Now, Chana, for years, some fans have been pointing to Britney's continued ability to work and perform all this time as evidence that she can take care of herself and doesn't need to be in this conservatorship. How strong is that as a legal argument?
It's not strong enough for a legal argument, because although she may be functioning in those day-to-day tasks, it doesn't mean that she's able to function at a higher capacity in order to handle managing her finances. That's a different standard. And so you're going to be looking at a lot of medical experts talking about a mental health evaluation to see if she's able to function at a higher capacity to manage her finances.
And on the flip side, Jamie Spears and his lawyer have said that he would love for her to not need this conservatorship, but that he's doing this in her best interest. And his attorney has also pointed out that Britney's finances have grown exponentially since that conservatorship was instated. So how much will that factor into this decision?
That's definitely a factor for the court. The court wants to make sure that whoever is appointed as the head of the conservatorship is managing the resources and making sure that they would do what they should do and become beneficial to the conservatee. So they want to see a financial situation that is going to be better than it was, because that's the purpose of the conservatorship, is to make sure that none of the financial resources are being squandered.
And Liz, you're a co-creator of the documentary Framing Britney, which was such a deep dive and so humane a look at this remarkable story. Just yesterday, you and other reporters from the New York Times reported that court documents show that Britney's previously alleged that conservators, quote, restricted everything from who she dated to the color of her kitchen cabinets, as we've been reporting, and that she's been pushing to end this conservatorship for years. So we should note that ABC News has reached out to Jamie Spears about that new report. We've not heard back. What does your new reporting tell us ahead of Britney's hearing today? How significant is it?
So our new reporting, as you note, reveals that, for years earlier than anyone knew, Britney has been pushing to end the conservatorship and even raising complaints about her father's fitness in his role as conservator. And this was really surprising, because defenders of the conservatorship have maintained that not only is this in Britney's best interest, but that she could file to end it at any time if she so wanted to, basically implying that she wanted to be in this conservatorship.
So what surprised you most about what you read in those court documents, given the story up till now, what people have been hearing in public?
A few things surprised me most. First off was how troubled Britney and Jamie's relationship has been from the very start. Jamie was not around very much when she was growing up, and he had serious alcohol issues. And to see that Britney was raising in court back in 2014 his drinking and his fitness to be her conservator was really shocking. The other thing that was very surprising was that Britney told a court investigator in 2016 that she was sick of being taken advantage of and that everyone around her depended on her for their income. You often hear from critics of the conservatorship that, you know, the system profits off of Britney, but to hear it directly from her mouth, according to this report, was very surprising.
Now, Chris, you've covered Britney Spears for years now. You worked at MTV when her career took off, and you covered her in 2008 when she was first placed under this conservatorship after apparently suffering a mental health crisis. So what has stood out to you watching her life and career through the years, and also her relationship with her father?
You know, there's a wonderful line in Framing Britney Spears, the documentary, that says we don't know what we don't know. And now, thanks to the reporting of the New York Times, it seems like we are knowing a lot of the things that we didn't know previously. One of the things that's striking about Jamie Spears' involvement is when you think of pop music and fathers, you think of, in some cases, people who are really controlling from an early stage in a pop star's career. Think of Joe Jackson, the way he really oversaw the creation of the Jackson 5. Matthew Knowles, Matthew Knowles, who was Beyonce's father, had the vision for Destiny's Child when Beyonce was just 11. Joe Simpson with Ashley and Jessica Simpson. Or even when the NFL wanted to talk to Whitney Houston about the way she was going to do the national anthem, they called John Houston. None of these situations applies to Jamie Spears. He was not involved in the early stages of her career in any way. When Britney and Lynn, her mother, collaborated on a book in 2000 called Heart to Heart, it was a 144-page book. Jamie Spears was mentioned once. So this is a very unusual turn of events that he would come into her life in a professional way so late in the game, and perhaps begins to help us understand why there's such mistrust here.
And Chris, I wonder, you talk about the history of fathers, parents in the lives and careers of child stars, young stars like this, and he wasn't involved in this. So what does that tell you about her career and about why she's in this situation?
Well, I mean, she showed up in the early 90s, in the late 90s, like she'd stepped off a meteorite. She was a star right from the drop, and it was something that she'd worked on for a long time. But this had been something that had been important to her and her mother. It was her mother who, when Britney was 9 years old, drove her all the way to Atlanta for that open call audition for the new Mickey Mouse Club. It was her mother who went to New York with her when she worked as an understudy to a play. So this was very much not Jamie Spears' side of the aisle when it came to Britney's career. And so the conflicts that they're experiencing now do not stem from his being involved in her career at an early age.
And David, if I could come back to you on this, the court will hear from Britney Spears today. So what kind of impact could her statement have in her conservatorship and her future in general?
Well, the court is looking to hear from Britney exactly what she wants at this moment. What's a little bit unusual is that typically before a conservatee addresses the court, there are pleadings on file explaining what that person wants the court to do. Here we simply don't have that. Her appointed attorney, Samuel Ingham, came relatively out of nowhere at the last hearing and said she'd like to address the court and she'd like to do it on an expedited basis. So while what she says will be important to the court, I doubt the court can make any important decisions today because there simply aren't the pleadings that will tell the court what Britney wants to do. It's unlikely that she has the medical records or neuropsychological testing that could prove that she has regained her capacity. And so we're just going to have to wait and see what Britney has to say to the court.
And Shauna, while we talk a lot about Jamie Spears, he's not the only person involved in this conservatorship. When it comes to Britney's finances, there's also a financial company that is part of this conservatorship and partially helps manage her finances. So could this decision also impact that third party in the conservatorship?
Absolutely. The third party is appointed because they typically are going to be the financial advisors. They're usually a third party independent, and they have an extensive wealth of information about finances to assist him. This can impact them because if the conservatorship was dissolved, then none of them would be needed, or they may seek to replace him with someone that works for that financial company, because you can always change who is heading the conservatorship as well.
And David, if I could just come back to you on something that people might be confused about. If Britney Spears comes into court and tells the judge, I don't want this conservatorship, or I'm happy with the conservatorship, I'm not happy with the current conservator, my dad, why shouldn't that go? She's an adult. Why shouldn't that determine the course of events?
The basic problem here is that she's under a conservatorship because at some point in the past and periodically since then, the court has determined that she lacks either the logical abilities or memory abilities or emotional modulation abilities to make decisions for herself. So until she and her legal team can prove that she has capacity, she has the ability to make decisions for herself, for her own person, regarding her own assets and her income, what she has to say doesn't have those underpinnings. So while it's important and the court wants to hear from her, until they have all those pieces of information that will show that she has regained her capacity, what she has to say is not going to rule today.
Liz, what are some key points you'll be listening for today?
Well, no one really knows what Britney is going to say. It's very rare that she speaks to the court, and it's never been done publicly for all of us to be able to hear. So, you know, in essence, I'm just interested to hear what it is that she wants.
Find out some of that, I hope. Liz Day, Shauna Lloyd, David Glass, and Chris Connolly, thanks very much for helping us understand this important day in many ways.